Uh-oh, Adrian had to change clothes.
Absolutely.
He's got to
Adrian's
put his
his
Access shirt on.
access. Alessandro, is it warm in Italy?
I no idea. I'm in Germany.
George, how's grandparenthood?
Yes, magnificent.
Lovely.
She's what, 3 weeks old there? She now has a daddy and two grandpas wrapped around her little finger.
That's
cute.
a lovely picture of here comes. I was going to say here comes Mr. Access Europe, but of course Alessandro is also Mr. Access Europe.
Vice Mr. Access.
Colin is just recently an MVP, and it feels very much. I know I clocked it the other day. It's 8 years now, but it feels like I'm a recent one too. It sort of feels that way, but I suppose after 8 years you can't really make that claim.
And Colin is here.
Yes, indeed.
When he unmutes himself, we'll have to congratulate him on getting his award.
August, not so long ago.
Was it really? Colin can't unmute himself.
Right, sorry about the delay in actually turning the microphone on. It said that the host wasn't letting me. Maria was stopping me talking.
I didn't do that.
I have never, ever seen that in Zoom before. But anyway, whatever the reason, and it wouldn't let me turn on the video either for some reason. But anyway, it's fixed itself.
It would be appropriate, I think, for Maria to share that technique, because I think we'd all want it at certain times, wouldn't we?
Especially with Colin.
Right, by now I'm just off. Unless you can get rid of Adrian. All right, I'm clearing off.
Well, since Colin's here, congratulations, Colin.
Thank you very much, David.
Yes, for your MVP status.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I am truly honoured to join this illustrious club. Even though Adrian's a member.
Deserved.
Absolutely.
Welcome, those of you that are joining us today. And we may get some more that pop in after we get started here. But today we are going to hear about how to use TTS, which is text to speech in Microsoft Access. And we have two speakers today. I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and he's going to spend maybe close to 20 minutes talking. And this is David Nealey. David's got a PhD and is a retired bid forensics consultant. He does capture, proposal manager, is a volcanic geologist, a U.S. Army veteran, and he's been developing a proposal management system using Microsoft Access for both fun and pleasure. And his real forte is using out-of-the-box functionality in Access to do innovative things. And many of those are without or with little code. So it's an interesting approach. So everybody please welcome David. And if once he gets started here, if you would be so kind, if you are not talking, go ahead and mute your microphone so that we can have the most bandwidth for David.
Quick hand up from Colin.
Colin, what do you need?
Apologies, I was trying to do applause. I managed to put my hand up instead. Ignore me.
Go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, David.
Okay, because I can't see it. Okay. Thank you, Maria, for that introduction. I think I know everyone who's on the call, so this should be fairly straightforward this morning. And I also want to thank Crystal and George for giving me some ideas during the week on what to say today. What I'm trying to do with speech is to give the user, the developer, another tool that he or she can use to engage with the audience, with the user group, okay? And my code, as Maria just mentioned, is very simple. I've looked at a number of your code segments or snippets for speech over the years, especially Adrian. Spent an hour or so one night with me. Colin, I've seen his code, and I've seen Alessandro's code. All of those code packages are very sophisticated. Mine on the hand is about 3 lines of code, and that's about it, with the exception of the message that the code sends. So with that, I'll just go into why you need to put speech into your applications. And as I just said, it's to tell your users things that he or she needs to know as quickly as possible and as natural as possible. Most people like to talk, and so the computer is the surrogate for that role. I'm an introvert, so I don't talk a lot, and when I need to listen, then I'll listen to short snippets of text from the computer, and then that's it. So that's the other key about the way that I use TTS is short snippets, nothing very long, 3 or 4 lines. When I did the practice yesterday with Maria and Crystal, they said too many lines, and that was the 6-line message. So I cut that down to 3 lines. So that'll be what I'll be showing you this afternoon. So I create what I call a story with TTS. The stories uses the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. As a proposal manager, the who is the proposal manager himself or herself, sales managers, executives, project managers, whoever's involved in pursuing a piece of new business. The what is the RFP telling you, the request for proposals. The next thing that the what does is to tell you how to conduct your proposal kickoff.
So David, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But you're sharing a Access application, I think, right now?
Yes.
Not your PowerPoint. Is that what you?
Not the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm just talking to it. Yeah.
Yep.
And
no problem.
Okay. That's a good thing to bring up, Maria. I sent Maria a PowerPoint this morning that has everything that I'm going to talk about today in it. So if I say something too fast or it's not clear, you'll be able to go in and review the presentation using that PowerPoint. So the when, quite often for our proposal manager, is the due date for the proposal. Or sometimes we have reviews. Those reviews are on a certain day at a certain time. And so you want your speech package to give that information to the user just as a reminder. Okay? So the key to the way that I use TTS in my Access database is to first set the reference to the speech library. So I'll click on that. Okay. I got to get into some code, and I forgot to turn on the code this morning. Okay, come on. And then share.
Okay, that's it, because we can see your icons. Great job.
And I want to get rid of that other microphone.
Welcome to Proposals Essentials Plus.
Oh.
Today is September 27th, 2022.
Okay.
The moon is 238,855 miles from Earth.
Yeah, one of the things that I have my database do is to play sound from both reports and forms. So when my switchboard, which I'm showing now, is activated, it reads a short message to the user, basically welcoming him or her to the application. And it also tells the user the distance to the moon. As everyone here knows, it's 288,000 miles, right, Colin?
Only
Okay.
in America. Over in Europe, it's completely different distance.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
And I work in kilometers anyway, David.
Okay.
No,
But
we
no
don't.
doubt when it plays again, I'll learn it in miles as well.
Okay. And so it talks to you when certain reports are open. And I'm going to go now into the main switchboard, go off to proposals, and look at the lunchtime. This form just tells a user about one proposal that he or she is working on. It opens with a lot more data usually. I cleaned it down quite a bit yesterday, and this is all that the user needs to see. I have 4 buttons that activate TTS on this form, and this one,
I-95 Jacksonville realignment. Client is City and County of Jacksonville. Proposal is due September 27th, 2022.
bam, that's it for that snippet of speech. There are a couple of more here, but I don't need to show them to you because this is all clear to everyone on this call. The other thing that, as I was saying earlier, my code requires is a reference to the speech library. I don't think that's true with Colin and Adrian and Alessandro's code, but mine, because of the way that I built it from a word macro, does require the speech library.
Can I just come? Sorry, can I just come in, David?
Sure.
Mine does use a speech library. There's actually 2 of them though. So I don't know which one you are using, but there are 2 different possibilities that work in a slightly different way to each other.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
mine code as well uses the same library you use.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I thought that you guys were way ahead of me, but
No, you could probably use late binding and avoid it, but I've never
Yeah.
bothered, to be honest.
yeah,
this.
I heard, yeah, Crystal told me that yesterday. I said, okay. That's the available references. There's 6 or 7 in this module. And then beneath this is the code. I'm just going to go directly to the code because I'm almost out of time. So I have a couple code snippets I want to present to you. Most of my code uses what I call the preamble. And all I need to do is to dimension speech, set speech, as you can see here, and then read text from the form that is open at the time. And sometimes it will just tell a message. In this case, the message is client is, once again, it's going to read the client's name from the form. The next line is the proposal is due. It's once again reading that date from the form. Actually, it's coming from the table, but it's being displayed on the form. And then do some error handling, and that's it. That is all to what I do with speech. Here's another snippet of code. The only line here, I got a lot of code that's been commented out, as you can see, is if me dot days remaining is greater than a certain number, that is 1, then read this particular sentence or phrase. If the number of days remaining is exactly 1, then it reads something else. And that is basically a warning to the user that he or she is out of time and needs to get the proposal out of the door. So it's due today. So you need to get to work and get it out the door. In my application, I have a workflow, as you kind of saw me go through. Starts with the main switchboard, goes to some secondary switchboards, and then it goes to a list of all of the buttons like you see here. So this is one main form showing all the buttons for that domain. There are 24 domains in this application. And those domains are shown here on the main switchboard. I'll get rid of that, get rid of that. So these are all the information domains in my application. So that's it. And as I said, the PowerPoint, it will be posted either by me or Maria here pretty soon.
Yeah, I actually did post a link to it already.
Okay.
If anyone joined late and didn't see that link, let me know and I can post it again. So at this point, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask David a question or put it in the chat. We do have one question from George in the chat. He says that it occurs to him that it should be possible to use an accelerator key on a command button so that a sight impaired user could start the TTS without having to find and click the command button, and ask if that would be possible. I don't know if you've thought about that at all.
Yeah, the buttons can be larger. I make mine fairly small, about 1 inch wide and 1/2 inch tall. And as I said, when the reports open, they open quite often with speech. The same thing with the forms. When you open up a form, you could have it start the speech code as well. So there's a couple ways that you can deal with people who are sight impaired. And I know that some people do not like speech in their applications. So that's fine. They can just turn speech off. What my application doesn't do is allow the user to change the volume interactively. And either Colin's code or Adrian's code, I think it's Adrian's code, does do that. So if you need that functionality in your application, then you use another model for TTS. Any other questions?
Can I just respond to George's just very briefly? The thing that really is helpful to understand is that this interaction with text to speech is all done through the code that David's shown us. So anything that triggers that is the same as it would be for anything else you do in Access. So a button, a shortcut key, any of those, you could even have the entry, you could have it triggered by the entry into a control. So anything that you can do for anything else, you can do with text to speech. You just basically say, here we go, library, talk this out, say this out loud for me. It's all, there are more things that we haven't got into on this side with David and stuff, with, as you mentioned, volume and stuff. But generally speaking, the interface just to talk is that simple as illustrated earlier.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion in responding to George's point? If you had a settings table, David, you could actually have something called automatic TTS or something like that, a yes/no value. If the user clicks yes to that, then they wouldn't need, then when the form loads, it would run through all of your text to speech. And also you could have another setting where do not use text to speech, and then they can just turn it off permanently.
Yeah.
So they might not want to hear how many miles it is to the moon very often, especially if they work in kilometers. Did I say kilograms earlier, Adrian?
No,
Oh, that was probably me, actually. No, that was probably me, Colin. I thought it didn't sound right, kg. Yeah, kilometers. My mistake.
All right, we have another question. Charles asks, you mentioned using a word macro, and he doesn't see the word macro in your code. Could you provide clarification on that,
The
David?
code is essentially the word macro. I converted this about 10 years ago to Access VBA. And
So
I checked.
you copied that and then you pasted it into Access.
Yes. And
Right?
then
You're not actually using a word macro. You're
That's
just
correct.
using a copy of it.
That's correct. And this code can be used in Word and in Excel, as well as Access. So if you want your Excel worksheets to talk, I think that might be built into Excel these days. You can do it with this code. It's kind of universal in that sense.
Yeah,
One
it
of
is
the
built.
nice
It
things
is
about-
built into Excel. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes,
And I
one
know
of
it's
the nice
built
things
into
about,
Outlook as well.
VBA is that it's cross Office, and when I say Office, I mean Microsoft, but that's a stupid thing to call a bit of software. So yes, across the Microsoft platform, by which I mean what used to be called Office, pretty much everything uses the VBA, and this is a VBA thing, so you can use it in any of those applications.
Exactly.
So question is I'm looking for in your code, the TTS, what is the function? I mean, speech is the variable you're passing, dot speak, and then you have the content that you're going to speak. Yeah, right there. So what's the function?
That's it, Charles.
That's it.
First, before you can run that, you have to set the object. So you have an object which manages all your speech, and you can do other things with it than just speak, but we haven't covered that here today. Yeah. But what you then do is the speech in this code, thank you for selecting that, the speech is the object, and one of the methods is speak. So you get the object, you say, right, I want to say speak, and then it gives it a bunch of stuff to speak, and that will then add it to the queue of stuff to speak, because obviously this code runs quicker than it takes to actually say it out loud. So what it does is that you then add it to the speech queue, and it will then sit there and happily go through calling out your code. When you've finished, you tidy up your speech object as you would any other object in your code. Does that help to put it into perspective a bit, Charles?
I guess my question is there the function, like you said, dealing with the object speak and that it can speech.speak. Is that something you had to add, or is that already pre-existing in Access, or is there you convert a macro into a Visual Basic function?
I've got what you mean, Charles. What you've got here is you've got a library, text-to-speech library, and one of the objects that comes with that library is what we've called speech, but if you can see, it's an SP voice. So see a couple of lines above, it says set speech. Oh, it was there.
I'm sorry.
Speech.
I saw SP voice.
It's still there. Set speech equals new SP voice. So that new means create an object of type SP voice. And SP voice is defined in the library.
Yeah, let me interrupt here for a second. New requires early binding. So I did put some code in the chat for late binding.
Yeah, but we don't want to okay, yeah. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, my time is up.
Yeah, we do need to move on to our...
Thank you very much. It's from the library.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, all the definition, all what's there, and speak is a method of that predefined object type.
Excellent.
Thanks for the clarification on that. Thank you very much, David. Our second speaker today is Alessandro Grimaldi. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Alessandro has been a programmer since 1983 and a VBA developer since 1998. For several years, he was consulting for the United Nations in different countries like Italy, Afghanistan, North Korea, Ethiopia, and Austria. And he's created dozens of office applications for them, from simple automation tools to corporate level multi-user tools. Those were Oracle-based applications. And since 2014, he's lived in Frankfurt, and has worked for 5 years as a VBA developer for the European Central Bank. So thank you, Alessandro, for joining us. And all right, go ahead.
Okay, I can share it now. So, well, first things first, let me thank Maria and you all for having me here today. So today we're talking about TTS, which seems to be a rather obscure functionality that can be implemented in VBA. And of course, we limit our talk to Access. In other applications, the thing is different. For example, if we use Excel, which I already opened here, we have a specific method in our application object, which is speech with 2 or 3 methods, among them speak. So we can pass a string constant.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody. And we can hear it spoken by the default Windows voice. We can also pass a range here. For example, V8.
Hello, everybody.
And we hear the voice again. This lady has no speech impairment, as it may seem, and she's not tipsy either. It's just an Italian voice speaking English. If I give her an Italian sentence.
Salve a tutti.
Yeah, the pronunciation is much better. Though I'm not sure you can appreciate it if you don't speak Italian. Anyway, we won't go into details with this Excel feature, of course. The point here is that Access doesn't have this method. If we go to Access, and we try to run the same method, we don't find it. It doesn't exist. So to implement TTS in our Access application, we had to work a bit more. Now, David already anticipated half of my presentation, but hopefully I'll be able to add some more details. Some of you may know, sorry, that every now and then I publish some free to download VBA pills on my YouTube channel. You can search my name. Yeah, this is me. And in the playlist, you will find these VBA pills playlist. They were meant to be short, extremely short VBA snippets whose main purpose was to stimulate other people's fantasy, nothing more than suggestions, curiosities, and so on, rather than full applications. One of them here, number 17, I published in March 2021, was Make Office Talk, which implements one possible solution. That's to say, a standard Windows API library, the same David already showed us. So this is the file you can download from there. The interface has a text box where you can enter the text you want to be read aloud. I have a sample text I found on the web. The first thing I found, okay. And a few buttons to change the volume, to change the speed, and to start, pause and resume, and stop the reading. There's also a combo box to select one of the voices in the computer, and this is the hardest part. Let's pick up David for now. So I can start the reading.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for me to be here tonight and address such a great audience. Like to bring up threatens the prosperity and welfare of the whole nation.
Faster.
However, The majority of the population tends to ignore it and pretend as if it is not a problem at all. Namely, I would like to talk about the risks of
Slow
obesity.
it down.
First of all, it would be reasonable to present the statistics that some of you might find shocking.
I can pause it and resume
They
it.
are in accordance with
and I can
data.
stop it. Then there is a class which acts as an intermediary between the form and the Windows library. Since I discovered VBA classes several years ago, I always use classes in all my projects. Basically, they are an invaluable and extremely powerful tool for the kind of things I do. And this is another case when a class is a brilliant choice, because I can import this class in any other project and have TTS immediately available. So the class is almost trivial. Where is that? As David already showed, I create a variable of type SP voice, an object which is exposed by the library. I create it when the class starts and kill it when the class is destroyed, or better, an instance of the class is destroyed. And these objects holds all the methods and properties we need. Some more details on the library itself. The library we're talking about is called Microsoft Speech Object Library, as David already showed. But you'll probably find more than one. There should be another one. Here it is, Microsoft Speech Object Library again. But this one is SAPI One Core DLL. The other one, the one we need, is SAPI DLL. So we're going to see in a few minutes what this distinction is about. Again, the class starts creating the object and killing it when it terminates. And the rest of the code is really very easy. For example, the volume, here it is. Speech exposes this property that we can set a value from 0 to 100. So what happens when I click this, the software button on the interface? I decrease the current volume by 1, multiply by 10, and pass it to the class method. And that's because I decided to give the user a 1 to 10 range rather than a 1 to 100. The same goes for the louder button, and even when the user enters a value manually in the volume text box, plus the obvious checks on the input. Speed works exactly the same way, except that it goes from 0 to 255. When I click on the slower button or the faster button, I change the current value by 1 and pass it to the where is it? Yeah, and pass it to the class property. Starting, pausing, resuming, and stopping from the user point of view are quite simple as well, as David already showed. Speaks the text when we want to start the reading. Pause switches between pause and unpause when checking if the voice is or is not speaking using this other method here. And stop shuts up the voice when we want to stop. Of course, this is my this is the interface my class provides to the user. I thought that shut up is somehow funnier than a more canonical stop. The class work to handle these events is just slightly more complicated because there are some flags to set. For example, here for speak, I use flex async, which forces the library to read the text asynchronously so that other commands can be issued in the meantime, and purge before speak, which This is not really useful here as there is one voice only, but if you have more than one, this flag should prevent an overlapping of the two voices in case you start the second before the first has finished. There are many other flags here, but I haven't explored or tested all of them. Pause is just easier, just pause, just like resume. And when I press the stop button, I empty, I use this flag here to empty the buffer again. Otherwise, the voice would go on reading until the end of the buffer. This is something we can see, we can test. If I start talking,
ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure
and
for
try
me
to
to
stop,
be here tonight and address such a great audience.
it doesn't work anymore.
The issue I would like to bring
As
up
the
threatens
text
the
has already
prosperity and
been
welfare of the whole.
The text has already been put in the voice buffer, and the voice won't stop until the buffer is empty. So the only complicated thing here is the list of available voices. To understand how this works, we must take a look at the Windows registry. So let's start the register editor. And there are two keys we're interested in. The first one is this speech one core. If we drill down to voices and tokens here, we see the voices which are available on this computer. Generally speaking, a token is an object representing an available resource, such as an audio input or in this case, a voice. More voices can be installed via the language settings. Now I'll open the language settings. I'm sorry, this is all in Italian, but it should be clear anyway what I'm doing. We select a new language, for example, German. We don't need the handwriting recognition, and we don't need the speech recognition. So we can install this German package. It should take a few seconds to download the package and install it. It's taking longer than I expected. Okay, initializing, downloading. It shouldn't take this long. Well, maybe with 19 people connected, the band is reduced. Okay, downloading, installing, and it's okay. So if we go back to our registry and refresh with F5, okay, now we hear three German voices, Hedda, Katja, and Stefan. Let's leave them here for a moment and take a look at the second involved key, this speech here. Again, let's open voices and tokens, and we see a different set of voices. The German Hedda has been just added with a German package, but what happened to the other two voices, to Katja and Stefan? Well, as far as I know, but I'm not an expert on this topic, when you install a language package, some voices are made available system-wide in this speech section. The others remain for internal use, for example, for Cortana. If we navigate again the settings to the vocal assistant, and we try to select a voice, we see the full set of voices taken from speech one core. But in our application, we only see the reduced set, the subset stored in speech. So let's take a look behind the scenes of this combo box. In the form load, okay. What happens here? As you can see, the combo is loaded using the getVoices method of the class and returns a two-dimensional array whose items are shown. The method is nothing more than a wrapper around the getVoices method exposed by the API. This method returns a one-dimensional array with the registry key full path. And in fact, this is it. This is the voice it reads. It takes the input from the speech registry section, the system-wide available voices, not the speech one core, the full list of voices. So these are the voices available to access. What if we want more voices in our app? We can do that with a bit of editing of the registry. Let's say we want to use Katya, okay? So the first step is to export the key, right-click, export, give it a name, for example, Katya. Okay. Then we need to edit the registry file. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, here it is. So we can edit the file. It's on the other screen. Now, I don't dare changing any of the settings here, but you can try if you want. I only change this speech one core and turn it into speech. This occurs in two positions, here and here. Now we can save and close, or close and save, whatever. And now we double click on the file to run it. We confirm that we are willing to mess with the registry, and we are done. Okay. Going back to the registry, we see immediately that Katya has been added to our speech section. So if I go back to my file and run again to reinitialize the combo, now I have Katya available. What else? I think that this kind of reg files can be downloaded from several websites, even though I would do that. Messing with the registry is already dangerous enough when you use reg files you created. Trusting someone else on this matter may be lethal. Last thing to note, if at some point we uninstall the language pack, we uninstall, and this is very, very quick, and refresh again our registry, we see that the German languages have been eliminated from the general language repository, as well as the header voice that was automatically added to the system key. But the voice we added manually, Katya, is still there. So keep this in mind if you want to fully undo your changes and to completely remove a language pack. Well, this is it, I guess. I don't think I have more to say on this topic. So again, the VBA pill can be downloaded for free from my YouTube channel. This is the Microsoft webpage about the API we just used, if you want to get deeper in it. And this is another page. If you need more information about the registry, this can be a good starting point. I'll paste the addresses in the chat window for your reference. And that's it. So if there's any question, I will be happy to take them. If they're not too complicated, because as I said before, I'm not, and I won't pretend to be a TTS expert. So if there's any question,
Thank you so much, Alessandro. I didn't see any specific ones that I noticed in the chat, but please feel free to either post there now or unmute yourself and ask the questions directly.
That was brilliant. Go ahead.
Sorry, Derek. My comment, only comment in the chat was that you could, if you consistently use that scaling code, you could move that to your class so that the class would then offer 1 to 10 functionality for every application that used it. Otherwise, you have to copy that code into every.
Yeah, sure. But again, this is just this was. Yeah, well, yeah, but this is the programmer choice. I mean, my choice was to provide a 1 to 10 scale. Your choice may be different. So, but again, this was meant to be just a VBA pill. So a suggestion, an invitation to go deeper into the topic.
So the actual speech gives you 1 to 100. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Library. Okay.
Can I say, I thought it was fascinating because
talking about the volume.
I know a lot of people have asked about why, you've got this speech, you've got these voices, but you can't get them to work in Access. And now we can see there's actually 2 different libraries there.
Exactly.
One of them works with one and one works with the other. But never before has anyone gone as far as Alessandro has.
Exactly.
The
second
one to the other. Sorry, Alice, go for it.
Sorry, I'm having some problem with the connection. You're coming broken. Can you repeat it, please?
I was having the same problem with you. I felt myself talking over you, and I didn't mean to. Beforehand, I've not seen anybody illustrate the 2 as clearly so that you understand it's not, because people think speech, but it's not actually speech. There's 2 speeches, and that was clearly identified. Access can only use one of them, but it's the lesser of the 2. But you also illustrated how you could, if there's a particular voice that you like that's available in the operating system, but not to Access, how you can quickly and easily make that available even to your Access code.
Yeah, not only Access, any application that can use talk to speech, text to speech. Because these. Yeah, sorry, just to make it clear, this set of voices here is available system-wide to all applications that can use the text-to-speech. This other larger set is reserved for the system, again, Cortana or other internal applications.
And that's what so few people understand that differentiation. And I've had so many times people ask, why can't it do this? And I've not been able to answer them, frankly, but now I can answer them. That's because there are certain things available to the system and others that are available to what would we call a library, I suppose, a text-to-speech library. But that's not only made clear, but also a solution to that for those frustrated that they can't use some of these other voices which they feel ought to be available to them, but aren't. So that's brilliant. I'm very impressed with that.
Can I just come in on this? Remember, there were 2 speech libraries, and if you use the other one, Speech 1 Core, then you would have all of the voices from the Speech 1 Core library tokens. They're the larger list. And in fact, all the new voices that Microsoft is adding now, they are adding to the Speech 1 Core library. But I do the same as Alessandro. I use exactly the same older library as him because I prefer the commands in it. And I do exactly the same with copying, exporting the voices for my Translate and Speak app, for example, exporting and then re-importing to the other library. So there's 2 ways of doing it. I do the same as Alessandro, but you could use the other library, and if you prefer the code in that way, save yourself the effort. So it can be available to Access, is what I'm saying.
Do we know what methods that library?
Yes, I didn't try that. It might be exactly what I was saying. I didn't try that, but it might be that the second library has different methods.
Commands. It does.
It does.
It does, and I used it in the past. I haven't used it for so long, I can't tell you what the differences are, but I will go back and check. I have got an example app which uses that instead. Don't know why, but I did. I think that was the first one I tried and then swapped over.
Okay.
That's very interesting to know.
Well, I'm glad I was able to give you some new information.
Yeah, the other place that the Speech One core library is used is in accessibility. Basically, what we were talking about earlier with David's, that where people actually want to have everything read to them. The narration feature, that's the phrase. But because of my Translate and Speak app, I was frustrated by the fact that I could see there was something like 45 languages available. And even after I installed all of them, I only had 14 of them in Access. And I spent ages and ages trying to work out what it was, and eventually did exactly the same as Alessandro has done. Although I did find a helpful post on Stack Overflow that told me that's what I needed to do.
It looks like Eric has also posted a link to a Microsoft Learn webpage about speech itself. And I assume, I don't know if you want to unmute Eric and tell us anything about that. I assume this maybe has links to the libraries someplace in it.
It does, and I actually kind of I did a little tangent into Azure and came back to that page. Interestingly, I think it implies that the SAPI and the Core 1 libraries are perhaps being, if not deprecated, at least put into the legacy mode as they move to this Win32 model that they're doing. I just opened up the Speech SDK 5.1, and it actually has an SAPI.chm file. So I'm not exactly sure what's in that SDK. It says you can now use Win32 Speech API, SAPI, to develop speech apps with Visual Basic, ECMAScript, and other automation languages. So it kind of sounds like maybe they're pushing to move to this Speech SDK versus the Windows libraries that we've been talking about today.
Interesting. I wonder what Excel uses natively. Be an interesting question for the Excel team.
It's the same. Sorry, it's the same commands.
The same.
So therefore, it's the same. It's the older SAPI library.
Okay.
Eric mentioned the CHM file. I think CHM is a help file.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, Harriet's getting a 404 on Alessandro's second link.
Let me check. That's the...
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. What is that? The structure of the registry? No. Is the API. Okay. Let me try again. No. Interesting.
Bracket at the end.
I'm still sharing the screen, right?
Yeah. What if you put a bracket at the end, Alessandro?
Yeah, but yeah.
He means parentheses, of course.
Yeah, close the bracket at the end. Okay. Because the chat excludes it from the link, from the hyperlink. You see?
It does, yes. I can see.
Okay, that's interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to add that back manually.
Yeah.
Harriet's got it. Excellent.
Okay. Not my fault. Not my fault. Okay. Any more questions? Then I'm done. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you both. I do not next. I don't have a confirmation on the next Access lunchtime topic, although I think, Dwayne, you're on here. I think Dwayne's a tentative for the October session. Are you firm on that?
Yeah, I'm good to go with the next one.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to take the whole hour, and it's not nearly this cool or complex, but just a simple little thing. So yeah.
So the speed you speak at, mate, of course it will take the full hour.
Well, and I think we can always fill our extra time with just general gabbing and questions. So I think, and you're welcome to say more yourself about it, Dwayne, but next month in October, he's going to talk about an Access report that has an embedded table of contents and how he creates that. You want to say anything more on it? Or wait till next time?
Well, I want some suspense there.
Come on, Dwayne.
Well,
join us next month.
It's that short that if I, kind of gave it all away or whatever, but no, it's part of a project was to create an embedded table of contents, which, you might think is fairly simple, and it ends up, it kind of is very simple, but it's kind of thinking out of the box a little bit in terms of reporting. And I'll probably, I was actually kind of working on a PowerPoint for it, just as to get my head together on what I was going to say. And I'll potentially add a couple other, or, one or two other kind of report functions that people might not be aware of, like doing like your Outlook calendar day at a glance kind of a thing, which is really very simple to graphically present that kind of stuff. So, I may add a couple other extra slides to the presentation.
Well, that'd be great. And we can always just cover whatever you have time for, as well. So.
Yeah.
I'm guessing when you say, where's he gone? Oh, it doesn't matter. When you say out of the box, Dwayne, does that mean you've actually taken it out of the Microsoft Word box and you're actually just cheating and getting the Microsoft Word to do?
Well, the table of contents, if you do a search on it, you're going to find Helen Fedema actually did some like word automation or some such complex thing like that. And it's like, that's way beyond me. I don't want to mess.
I was pulling your leg anyway, Dwayne.
You always do, man.
I tried.
I guess that's what I learned to expect from you. So.
Don't lift the curtain all the way up, though, Dwayne.
I'm trying not to. So don't push me, please.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. And join us again next month, last Tuesday of the month. I believe it will still be Central Daylight Time. November, we'll switch to Standard. I know I always get a few people from different time zones popping in earlier. I had somebody at 8 a.m. this morning, my time, and I'm like, nope, not quite. We got to wait a couple hours.
Marie, it won't be Central Daylight Time or British Summertime. Anyone in Europe, it will have reverted to Standard Time, so there will be a difference.
You guys switch
for 1 month.
Yes. Okay, so that's good to know for next month. So use a calculator and put your D or S in there versus what I send in the meeting invite, I'll try to keep it straight.
Is it okay if I just rely on Crystal telling me, because she always knows what time it is?
That would work too.
The crystal ball.
I think she's in the same time
Like that,
zone
yeah.
as this is. So, all
Thank
right,
you again,
everybody.
Maria.
Yep. Thank you
Thank
both.
you, Maria. And
very
before you
much.
go, Maria, before you go,
Mhm.
there were brilliant talks today. I would just, and obviously thanks to those two who did that, I would just like to offer my thanks to you for finding these people that do these awesome talks. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. This one kind of fell into my lap, but and so did Dwayne's. So, but I'm trying hard to get some interesting topics here. I actually tried to get somebody to talk about encryption, but the best person I know is too busy right now. So we still might get one for later in the year, but I got to work a little harder at that.
I can do I've someone on Bytes did an encryption,
Okay.
and I've converted it into VBA.
Well, if you want to do a talk on that, that would be awesome. I'll talk to you later.
Talk later, yeah. Indeed.
Okay, sounds good.
No worries. It's a low-level encryption. It's not something people want to rely on too heavily, but it does encrypt.
Okay, well, I'm more after access encryption methods and different ways to encrypt things. So yeah, we can talk and make sure that it fits, and maybe it's a piece of an overall topic, but in any case, we'll discuss and find out.
I look forward to that, Maria.
All right.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, hi, Greg. I didn't see you.
Thank you.